Hi, I'm Ann Parker. In this session, we're going to cover two documents. One is the Code of Conduct and one is the Leadership Handbook. I would invite you to follow along with a printed copy and to read this in its entirety once we finished with this training session. Article 1, the Code of Conduct, says that the corporation has rights, and those rights are fundamental to the corporation, and those rights are to carry out the purposes and exercise any of the rights or authority granted by law. We can change its purposes if it's permitted by law in the charter. We can merge with another organization or dissolve, establish procedures governing the admission of members, to establish and amend through changes in its governing documents, membership rights, privileges, and obligations, to delegate authority to the extent permitted by law, and to elect officers, appoint committee members, and to discipline and expel a member or an associate member in accordance with the provisions of this particular document, to hold property and to defend or enter into litigation in its own name. Section 2. In addition, the members have rights as a person under association rights, property rights, and parliamentary rights, all of which are protected by law. A member's rights stem from their organization membership. Section 3 talks about what the membership rights are. They include, but are not limited to, be sent notices as distributed to the membership, to attend meetings, to present motions, to speak on debatable questions, to vote, to nominate, to be a candidate for office, to inspect all records of the organization, to ensure that the enforcement of the rules of the corporation and parliamentary law are carried out, to resign from an office or actually from the corporation itself, to be afforded all rights in the disciplinary procedures carried out in Article 15 of this document, to receive and have a right to all of these documents, and to exercise any other rights and privileges as granted to the member by the corporation's documents. Section 4 says membership rights will be varied by whether the member is an associate or a regular member. Section 5 says that if any of the rights of the member are violated, they are entitled to relief. Article 2, the rights of membership, Section 1. The dues for the corporation are due by August 31st of each year. Section 2 of this article says pins are available for members, dads, and associates. They may be purchased through our online store. Section 3, all members should renew their dues before the end of August of each year. If a member joins between June the 1st and August 31st, the membership fee will be effective through the following August. So if I join in June 1st of any year, my membership will be good through the end of August of the following year. So anytime between June 1st and August 31st. Membership cards can be issued to members by the chapter membership person. Those membership card templates are on the national website. Article 7 talks about lifetime membership may be afforded to a past national president. Article 3 talks about associate members. Anyone who doesn't qualify for membership under our eligibility, which we talked about, can be an associate member. Right now, all of our Blue Star dads are associate members. There is no such thing at the present time as a Blue Star Dads Association. For that to be resurrected, there would need to be a group of dads to come to convention and petition the convention body to launch that auxiliary. Article 4, application process. The chapter financial secretary shall receive all membership applications and dues, keep a record of that, and deposit all funds and notify the national treasurer of that by sending the funds in using the roster form on the national website. If the chapter is part of the department, the chapter financial secretary must also submit a copy of the roster form to the department financial secretary. The department financial secretary in section 2 shall keep copies of all of this, just like that is done at the chapter level. Article 4, if I wish to transfer to another chapter that is not part of the department, then the member should complete a membership application checking the appropriate box that says transfer and submit it to the chapter financial secretary of the chapter she wishes to transfer to. The chapter financial secretary will verify the applicant has paid her dues and has attached this to the transfer, and it is now forwarded to the national first vice president who will make the transfer. If it's not part of a department, then it would go directly from the chapter transferring to the first VP. And in the case of the department, it would first go to the department financial secretary before going to the first VP. Article 6, chartering a chapter. If a chapter wishes to be formed, they get an application from the fourth VP. If it's part of the department president shall serve as a liaison between the newly forming chapter and the chartering officer, which at the present time is the fourth VP. The charter application requires all signatures be original and have at least 5 different people to be members, so that each of those 5 basic members would hold a position of either president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, or financial secretary. At the organizing meeting, all the members that are going to be a part of the chapter will sign the charter application. If they're not a part of a department, then the newly elected chapter president will receive the charter for presentation after the chapter has been formed. They can be sworn in by phone by a past national officer or a member of the National Executive Board. Section 4, if it's part of the department, then the fourth VP will forward the chapter to the department president to present to the new chapter. She would then do the swearing in of the chapter, but if that could not happen, she could designate someone to take her place. The chapters must fill out a roster form upon formation and continue to keep the database updated. Chapter members' meetings shall be scheduled to occur on a routine basis at a regularly scheduled time. Article 7 talks about meetings. Meetings can be held in person or they can be held online via conference call, Zoom, etc. Section 2, the gavel is the symbol of authority and shall be used wisely. The following manner: 1 rap brings the meeting to order and the assembly is to be seated. 2 raps means the group is to rise, the officers, and 3 raps means the entire assembly rises. Section 3 shows the agenda that should be used for every meeting. And we'll go over it in the order. So it should be called the meeting to order, prayer, pledge, Blue Star Mothers preamble, roll call of officers, reading and approval of minutes, introduction of guests, officer and committee reports, initiation of new members, communications, reading of financial report, presentation and approval of expenses and bills, unfinished business, new business, and of course on election time, it would be the first order of new business, announcements, remarks, prayer, and adjournment. If you have online meetings, they must follow the exact same order. Article 8, chartering a department. Currently, we have 3 departments: Minnesota, Ohio, and Michigan. If any other state would wish to form a department, they would need to have at least 3 chapters come together and decide to do this. They would obtain a chartering application from the 4th VP and would require the original signature of the presidents of those 3 chartering chapters. Once a department is formed, it says in Section 3, all chapters within the state have the option to join, but are not required to join. Once the department is chartered, any chapter that forms after the date of chartering of the department must join the department. Name of the department must follow Department of, name of the state. Section 5 says the department must register with all the appropriate authorities, including the IRS and the state, obtain a checking account, get a PO box, do everything that a chapter must do. Section 6, to have the department charter approved, the department must submit a copy to the 4th VP, all the chapters within the department that are going to be involved, their membership numbers, an election of officers, and a department check for the $25 chartering fee made out to Blue Star Mothers of America. The $25 chartering fee is the same for chapters as it is for department. Section 7, the newly elected department president will be informed when the charter's been approved, and if they would be sworn in by a member of the NEB to present them the charter and swear in the officers. Can be done by telephone. Article 9, department conventions. They must be held between September 1 and December 31st of each year to conduct the business of the department. Section 2, all business of the department must be approved by 2/3 of the body. The only exception is the election of officers, which requires only a plurality of the vote of the body. All members of the department in Section 3 have the right to express an opinion. Section 4, to attend department convention, just like our national convention, they must be a member in good standing. Section 5 says a convention call must be issued no less than 60 days before the opening of the department convention. Section 6 says the department can charge a fee set by the convention committee that would be include but not limited to fees for meeting rooms, opening luncheon, and the banquet. Section 7, travel and hotel rooms are the responsibility of the attendees of the chapter according to the chapter decision by vote if it so chooses to help the members attend department conventions. Expenses to attend and participate in the department convention may be covered to the degree that the chapter is financially able to assist. As is the case of national convention, participation in department national conventions is a part of the mission and purpose of the corporation, and it's determined by legal counsel and financial advisors to be a program expense. In other words, a very legitimate expense to be incurred by the chapters if they are able to pay such expenses or any part of. Article 10 says we will publish an annual yearbook. Departments and chapters on the national level, this will be an annual yearbook, are asked to participate by procuring advertisements as covered in Section 2 of Article 10, and all profits will be distributed to VA hospitals in areas without chapters. Article 11 covers our emblem. The official pin of the organization shall be a 5-pointed blue star in the center of a white circle bound in red with the words Blue Star Mother. The official flag is a white flag with an official logo on a blue star under the words Blue Star Mothers of America. Gold fringe shall surround the national flag, and blue fringe should surround a department or a chapter flag. Section 3 says the official window banner shall be a white rectangle bordered in red with a blue star in the middle for each child as defined in the corporation's constitution. Section 4, The official flower will be the blue painted daisy. And then we'll go on to Article 12. The official uniform for the organization would include a white blouse, a navy blue skirt or dress pants. The shoes should be navy, black, or white. The corporation pin, as described previously, may be placed over the member's heart, with an American flag also placed over the heart underneath the corporation pin. The child service pin, the VAVS pin, meaning the volunteer service pin at the VA, minimal jewelry, and white gloves for formal ceremonies. The optional part to this uniform is a navy blue jacket and a garrison hat with a patch, which may be embroidered with the chapter name, number, state. A blue cape is also optional for the chapter and department presidents only. Section 3, members also have the option of wearing a white nurse dress uniform to events listed in Section 1 of this article. Section 4 says national elected officers shall wear a white blouse, a white or a blue skirt or dress pants, a white jacket, a white suit, or a white dress. White shoes when wearing all white, navy or black with navy skirt or pants. And the corporation pin placed over the heart, the American flag placed over the heart, the child service pin, a VA voluntary service pin, minimal jewelry, and the garrison hat. Former past national officers at any level may list the highest office held and years of service. Again, white gloves are optional and a white cape is optional. The informal uniform, such as if a chapter is fundraising, could be a logo t-shirt and the corporation's pin, as long as they're dressed sensibly. Article 13 talks about the Blue to Gold program, where a banner may be purchased from any vendor and presented to a service member's family who's lost their life in our service to our country. But this must be coordinated through the third VP, who will validate the flag is able to be placed, and then the appropriate chapter will be able to buy the flag at a vendor of their choosing. The third VP should oversee this program, and no flag should be presented to anyone without the third VP working with the chapter. Article 14, the corporation logo. It is the responsibility of the National Executive Board to make sure that this logo is safeguarded the integrity of the corporation. If a chapter wishes to use the logo, they must submit in writing a request to the national president stating how the logo will be used, what it will be used for, fundraising, an ongoing project. Permission must be received from the national president before it is placed on any article. Fundraising, if the article is to be sold that has the logo on it, 25% of the total profit must be forwarded to the National Financial Secretary. Use of the logo does not need to have approval for chapter or department forms, letterhead, certificates of appreciation, business cards, memorial books. Now, if a convention logo is designed by a national president, she can let the chapters and departments use that particular logo without paying a surcharge. Section 3, if items with the logo are sold directly through the national office to a chapter, a department, a member, these items cannot be altered. However, items that don't contain the logo that are sold to chapters and departments to be used for fundraising projects may be altered, and any profit kept by the chapter or department. Article 15 is our disciplinary procedure. The purpose of the member behavior code is to ensure that the corporation carries out its mission productively in an atmosphere of democracy and cooperation. And the members' experiences, volunteers, and the public's experience with whom we interact and those we serve through our mission is respectful, honorable, safe, and secure, as well as enjoyable. It is intended to define generally accepted behavior as described below. The behavior code shall apply to all members and associates. Each chapter, department, or national president, together with their executive boards, shall ensure that the procedure set forth in this policy is followed in a consistent manner. Compliance with this policy is the responsibility of all corporate members. Number 3, under Section 1 of Article 15, members shall treat others in the spirit of our ritual that contains our corporation's core values. Members should treat one another, public officials, our military, and those in neighboring communities with courtesy and goodwill. This includes all communications, whether telephone, email, online, internet, meetings, activities, or events. Hard work through volunteer hours at any level of the corporation membership has nothing to do with educational background or skill level. None of that gives a member a license to mistreat or cause petty grievances toward others. Number B says all contributions of time and talent should be encouraged. Highly active members should not criticize someone who can't be as active. C says abusive behavior such as profane and threatening language to physical violence are not to be allowed. It is prohibited. Harassment or discrimination on any basis is not to be allowed. Personal disputes have no place at any level in our corporation. They should not be resolved through arguments. Members can't accept tips, gratuities, or monetary rewards for the public or to grant a favor. Any such funds that are given would become the property of the chapter, department, or national organization as applicable. There should be no announcement, discussion, or remarks regarding politics, political parties, persons running for an office. This has no business in our chapter and national or department meetings. If a member of our organization holds any level of a political office, they will not use the corporation in any way to further their political career. In every organization, number 4, there must be a chain of command. Chapter, department, or national activity shall have a person assigned as oversight. A member or officer has been elected or appointed to oversight of an officially recognized chapter, department, or national area of responsibility. While members are encouraged to suggest projects, events, or activities, their organization of those activities shall be coordinated by an assigned member of that area of responsibility. Communication is key. Members are prohibited from making false claims, representation, or allegations. Members should represent themselves as an authorized agent of the corporation, with the exception of the president. The president, at her level of oversight, this is the national president of the corporation's authorized agent that may enter into a legal contract of any kind with an outside entity. And on this level, it would be the chapter, department, or national president. The president may assign this duty to any member of the executive board. All corporation members are to avoid words or deeds that are arrogant, insensitive, belittling, cruel, or disrespectful. Everyone should set an example of good conduct for others to follow. The national president will not be involved in any chapter disputes. If a grievance is filed, there is a committee, the grievance committee, that will handle that. Treatment of Blue Star Mothers property. Members are trustees of the corporation property. It must be handled with extreme care. Members serving through an elected or appointed in any office of the corporation are required to transition all files, property upon completion of their office. An inventory list shall be used to account for that property. All corporation properties under the managing control of the respective chapter, department, or NEB. Theft of corporation property from a member's home or vehicle requires filing a police report. Members who lose replaceable corporation property are responsible for replacing that. Number 6, members who violate the behavior code will be subject to disciplinary actions as stated in subsection B, member discipline in this policy. An executive board may immediately suspend members for causes pending review and disciplinary action while matter is being investigated. The member discipline policy is to establish a clear, uniform, impartial, and equitable policy on handling alleged or suspected violations of the behavior code, governing documents, rules, procedure, any other policy withheld by the corporation. Intentional refusal to acknowledge or comply with official communications to or from the NEB or the governing bodies or abusive behavior is subject for an automatic termination of membership. The National Executive Board of Blue Star Mothers of America holds the sole right to terminate the membership of either a member or an associate if the member or associate is involved in any activity deemed harmful to the organization through their actions, speech, affiliation, or social media and website posting. A chapter or department official has oversight of an activity, is the authority to immediately dismiss a member if their actions or behavior cast an unfavorable light on the organization. Action should be taken immediately. Executive boards are the first line of authority to discuss final discipline decisions regarding a member's removal from a meeting, event, or activity. The final decision of this action will be taken resulting in substantiated violation of the behavior code, the governing documents, operating rules, procedure, all other policies of the corporation rest with the chapter or national or department executive boards and the decision administered by the president at that respective level. If a member is removed from an activity, the designated authority with oversight will inform the chapter or department president as soon as possible. After an official report is received and further examination or investigation is made, if necessary, the respective executive board will determine if further action is needed. The president will inform the member in writing of the board's decision within a reasonable period of time. Suspension decisions by the chapter executive board may be appealed to the department or the National Executive Board through their respective chain of command. Disciplinary action procedure. Corrective action is progressive, and the following is the order in which those steps would occur. First and foremost, an informal discussion would be the first, also called a verbal warning. Every attempt will be made involving informal discussion before proceeding to a stronger disciplinary action. A record of that discussion will be written and maintained. Following that, if there's further problems in that regard, would involve a written warning. This action includes a discussion with the president regarding the rule, policy, behavioral code, governing document, policy, or procedure that was the problem, with emphasis on how to correct the problem. Members should be certain that they understand the reason for the warning. This warning shall be presented in writing. The member will be asked to sign and date the document. If a member refuses to sign, the president should state by signing in that position where the member would have signed, member refused to sign with his or her own signature. As long as no other disciplinary action has taken place, the written warning will expire at the end of 6 months. Disciplinary procedure. If both informal and written warning fails to correct the problem or resolve the dispute, the member will be placed on probation. It is a testing or trial period of a member who has caused offenses. Probation allows the member to participate under supervision and only under conditional circumstances. Section F talks about a discretionary suspension. For the welfare and good of the corporation or the member, suspension may be required. It includes the suspension of membership privileges, excluding the member from use of corporation property, meetings, activities, or events. A suspension allows the opportunity to review the circumstances and hold discussions with all parties involved before further action is taken. Depending on the outcome of the review process, all or part of the suspension may be revoked. Section G talks about the president should suspend the operating and volunteering privileges of any member of the corporation who is under the influence of alcohol or other substances, such as the member's safety and that of others, as well as their generally accepted behavior, cannot be assured until such time as the president can be assured of that. Section 8 talks about immediate automatic suspension for assault or intentional property damage. Section I talks about an automatic suspension, failure to return corporate property. Section J talks about automatic termination of membership for failing to return corporate files, records, essential to operation of either a chapter, department, or national operation. Section K talks about automatic termination of members for insubordination. Termination of membership under Section L. Members may be expelled from the corporation through final action of the National Executive Board after a full investigation has taken place. All such documentation for the events we have talked about must be in writing. It should be documented by the Executive Board and administered by the President. It shall state the member's alleged deficiency, the time frame expected for improvement, and those actions that will ensure that the member will occur if the member does not correct the behavior. Here again, the member is required to sign it, and if they don't sign it, the president will sign with the statement member refused to sign. All corporation documentation regarding disciplinary communication will be sent USPS certified mail return receipt as well as USPS regular mail. Section 2 talks about what must occur before a trial can take place. Committee should be established to investigate. This committee will be chosen for their integrity and good judgment. They'll quietly conduct an investigation. The committee will speak with the accused to hear their side of the story. The committee will prepare a resolution that sets forth the time and date of a trial. Upon adoption of the resolution, the recording secretary immediately sends a letter by registered mail accused and notifying the accused of the time. It shall be incumbent upon the accused to pay all expenses regarding this trial. Section 3, a membership termination hearing is held when the alleged offense has run the course of the progressive disciplinary procedure. The member has the right to be notified of pending termination, given time to prepare a defense, and allowed the right to be heard and defend themselves. The trial is a hearing. Members are appointed as managers to present the evidence. The trial will be conducted in the following manner. The charges are read. The managers make an opening statement. Witnesses are presented. The accused presents witnesses, and the manager closes the arguments, followed by the accused. Once the trial is completed, the accused leaves the room. Each charge is read, discussed, and voted on. The action of the National Executive Board is final and non-debatable. Now we'll go on to something that's called general fundraising. That's in Article 16. Chapters and departments may conduct public fundraising for their particular chapters. Be mindful under Section A of Part A of Section 1 that chapters within the area may be raising funds for the same area. Many problems can be avoided by simply contacting other chapters in the area before an event. As a courtesy, stay within the area mentioned on your chapter's charter. If you are going to perhaps be invited into another chapter's area, then at that point, the chapter president of the outside chapter needs to make communication immediately, long before the event, with that area's chapter president, and they will coordinate if they are going to participate duly in the event. The chapter should post a sign about what the donations are to be used for, if they're going to be restricted, or they can simply say that they're used to promote the mission and purpose of the chapter, department, or national, like assisting the troops, the wounded, the family, the fallen, veterans, military veterans, family. But if you pick only one of those, you've restricted the funds, and you must use those funds for what you have on the sign. You need to have a copy of all tax documents with you, like your letter from the IRS, to prove that you are a tax exempt nonprofit. Have written information about the chapter if someone is interested in knowing about your chapter. And if you are planning a raffle, please register with your state as applicable. This is your chapter's responsibility. Keep detailed records, publicize the event, provide a basket for cards if you want to have people drop off cards to be sent to the troops, and be familiar with the IRS guidelines for tax exempt organizations. You will find on the national website a video that talks about the IRS and your responsibilities as a part of our organization. Article 17 talks about the VAVS fund. So each chapter, as a part of their annual compliance, will send in a payment of $25. These payments are due by December 1. All payments are put together. Chapters where we don't have VA hospital representatives will receive a donation from our organization. Article 18 is the Blue Daisy Project. It was adopted by the 1948 convention. If a chapter wishes to buy or make blue daisies and offer them to the public for a donation, 25% of the funds after expenses would be sent to the department, or in the case of no department, to the national organization, and 75% would remain with the chapter. Veterans Affairs Voluntary Service, VAVS, is covered in Section 19. The Department of Veteran Affairs oversees the VAVS program in the veterans hospitals. All people that wish to become reps or DEPs, representative or deputies in the VA hospitals, will contact the National VAVS representative you can find on the national website, and there is a form to fill out indicating your interest. The main concern here is when you are in the VA hospital, you are representing the national organization for hours and donations, not your chapter. You should keep a record of those, and if you're a VAVS representative, you will be asked to submit reports on a regular basis. The duties of the rep are to attend quarterly meetings, to assist in completion of the annual joint review, to be knowledgeable of VA policies, requirements, and guidelines, to train members of your organization who might be interested, and to recruit members to come alongside you to assist with different activities at the VA. The deputy at each facility, if there is one, is to help the representative perform her duties. Representatives who fail to communicate and report to the national VAVS rep shall be removed from the position for failure to communicate after a 3-month period of time. A letter will be sent by the national VAVS rep to the hospital or clinic for that person and notifying that they've been removed from the office. Article 20, the Code of Conduct may be amended every 3 years at the annual convention by a 2/3 vote of the eligible delegates. Any proposed amendment should be circulated to the delegates at least 30 days before convention. Having been reviewed by the NEB and the corporation's legal counsel, once that's passed, to make sure that everything is in compliance with federal and laws. Amendments to the Code of Conduct passed at National Convention shall take effect at the close of National Convention, which they were adopted. With a 2/3 vote of the body, a specific amendment may take effect immediately. Article 21, we have a whistleblower policy where if a member reasonably believes that some policy, practice, or activity is in violation of the law, a written complaint may be filed with the national president. It is the intent of our organization to adhere to all laws and regulations, and the underlying policy is to support the organization's goal of legal compliance. A member is protected from retaliation only if the member brings the alleged lawful activity, policy, or practice to the attention of the National Executive Board and provides the National Executive Board a reasonable opportunity to investigate. Blue Star Mothers of America will not retaliate against any member who in good faith has made a protest or raised a complaint regarding some practice or of an individual. There should be no retaliation at any level for someone who presents notice of a particular policy, practice, or activity that that member believes it's in violation of the law. Article 22, electronic communications and social media. The corporation encourages and promotes participation in electronic communications, social media, and internet representation for our chapters, department, or auxiliaries, as well as the national organization, in an ethical manner that increases in awareness and positively represents the corporation. The guidelines are as follows. Section 1, electronic communications, social media, and internet use guidelines. Section A, content using the corporation trademark in any way on electronic social media must be proper, relevant, upholding the corporation's purposes and policies. Content shared on electronic social media must be considered relevant, which includes proper and suitable posting on or about corporation meeting, events, or members. Content communicated via electronic social media platforms must not divulge private information about an individual, and we must be very careful to follow operation security rules, also called OPSEC, so as not to cause any harm to our service members or their families. Content communicated by corporate members about corporate matters, electronic devices, and use of social media, understand that once submitted, that content is public and considered permanently available for others. Content about a political campaign or promoting political interest are forbidden. F, meetings should be conducted in person within a group setting. However, when a meeting must be held through teleconference, chat room, social media, Zoom, etc., the meeting must follow the same rules as a face-to-face meeting and must be inclusive of all members. And that concludes the training on the Code of Conduct. The second document we're going to discuss is the Leadership Handbook. It is 48 pages long. The majority of this document talks about the duties of the national officers. I would like you, once you finish this training, to read all 48 pages. It is very important for you to know what national officers perform what task. But what I'm going to spend the most time for on this particular training is on the chapter and/or department level. So we'll just briefly go through the national president. She, like all of the other national officers, are elected for a one-year term, and she must have served at least one full year on the NEB, National Executive Board, or have been a department president. Her responsibilities are many, and they are outlined in the following pages from the beginning of the document. The first VP on the national level is our membership person, and she is also the backup to our national president. You may read her qualifications and her many duties in the pages that follow. The second vice president has also duties, and they are outlined by some of her duties, including the publication of the yearbook and an ongoing monthly newsletter to the membership. As we talked about earlier, the third VP is the administrator of the Blue to Gold program. All service banners that are issued to Gold Star families must be first coordinated through the national third VP. The national fourth VP works with chartering chapters, and she is also responsible for the compliance that every chapter must complete by the 1st of December of every year. The National Recording Secretary takes minutes and posts those on the website after they've been approved by the National Executive Board, and she helps our national president with any required communications that need to be written. Then we go to the National Financial Secretary. Her job duties are many, and her responsibility is just like on the National Financial Secretary, just like on the chapter level. She receives all monies, and she, along with your national treasurer who writes the checks, they must each sign the check of any check that is issued, with the first vice president being the backup signer. And the two of them reconcile the corporate books or the chapter or department books together. It also goes on to talk about a variety of appointed positions that and standing committees that our national president and your chapter may appoint, including a sergeant at arms, a parliamentarian, a chaplain, a patriotic instructor, a historian, the National VAVS representative, which we talked about earlier, the program that she administers. We have a DC representative who works with any of our travel that our national president and other officers make to DC, and attends any meetings held by the VA or the Veterans Day Committee that need to be as under the direction of the national president. There's also the National Financial Committee chairperson, and she has duties to head that committee. She is appointed by your national president. There could also be a bylaws chairman who will coordinate the different submissions to the bylaws of the governing documents, as we've stated, on every 3-year basis, and remembering that the financial policies may be adopted every year. On page 43, it goes through the department officers, the area that has a department, and the departments may have all of the appointed officers as well. On page 46, talks about your chapter officers. The chapter president represents the organization with dignity and impartiality, attends events representing the chapter, presides at all meetings, boards, meetings, and committee meetings, is knowledgeable of the corporation history, and appoints officers and committee chairs, responds to members' questions, and works with the chapter board and a finance committee if the chapter has such, to maintain financial income and support the various programs. The chapter needs to have a first vice president who would assist and represent the president, run the meeting in the absence of the president, attend ceremonies as directed by the president, represent the chapter president in any event that she can't attend, and assist in any other activities. Remember, your chapter president leads your chapter. The members vote on what the chapter does, and how the chapter spends its money. Optional officers on the chapter level include a second vice president who would run a newsletter or any other type of communications that the chapter would have. The chapter must have a recording secretary to keep minutes and to provide communication preparation support for the president. The chapter financial secretary deposits all money, transmits all bills to the treasurer to be paid after approval by the membership, and receives and processes all membership applications, roster forms, and dues. The duties of the treasurer to pay all bills of the organization, to assist the financial secretary in maintaining accurate financial records, and assure that all checks are properly prepared and signed by her and the chapter financial secretary or the first vice president in her absence in an emergency situation. Chapters may also have chapter corresponding secretaries, chapter sergeant at arms, chapter chaplains, chapter parliamentarian, chapter patriotic instructor, chapter historian, and may even have a POW MIA banner barrier. Here again, I'd like you to read all of these documents, and if you have any questions, please contact the appropriate national officer, and she will put you in contact with someone that can answer your questions. Thank you for your attention. Right there.